Good morning. How are you all doing today? I tell you, you guys are a bunch of great souls out there. I love these comments. It really empowers me more to do these videos, and I really appreciate it. So, I can't hardly get just one topic on a video because I'm one of those guys that just lets it flow and comes out, and wherever we need to go, we go. So I hope that's okay with you. This guy was asking me about fasting this morning, and I think that's a good idea to understand fasting because that's really the top of the mountain in detoxification. If you look back in the dawn of time, fasting has always been used. In Christianity, you got it down that line of Jesus, Moses, all these people. You've got it down the Buddhism, you've got it down, Siddhartha and all those guys. You got it down the Islamic religions. You've got it everywhere. Fasting has always been the universal way. Animals still do it today. When they're sick, they don't get up and run off, and they don't move. And I think it's important to understand why that is, and why rest is very important in health. When you look at the adrenal glands, and you understand that they're dealing with this autonomic nervous system that invades your body, and it makes you able to walk and run and move your bowels and breathe and heart pump, you start to realize how important that is and how important it is to have healthy adrenals. So when you really want to have more activity, you understand that takes energy. So the body has to redirect its energy from digestion, from elimination, from all these other parts. The body has to grab its energy, especially if you're running hard or whatever you're doing. So in the adrenal glands, though, you'll see the increase of norepinephrine and epinephrine. I think I talked about this before, but forgive me if I have. But that increases, that dilates the vascular system, bronchioles, it gives you more oxygen, more blood flow, increases the thyroid and heart rate. So you really start seeing that activity and the energy move to activity and muscles. But it shuts down acetylcholine and dopamine, which means it shuts down kidney function and bowel function because the redirection of energies to muscles and blood flow and oxygenation. So when you're at rest, the opposite happens. The norepinephrine, epinephrine go down, the dopamines and acetylcholines go up. That increases kidney elimination and bowel elimination. That's why under stress, you're pumping that epinephrine or norepinephrine, but you're losing the bowel performance and the kidney performance. So fasting is a time to shift that and to allow the relaxation and the improved elimination. Fasting is always a water experience, and natural hygienic people really had some nice fasting clinics, and you went in and you used your tongue because you notice how your tongue turns white or brown, some real red, meaning a lot of inflammation in the gut. And so we used to fast people until their tongue turned pink again, and that was one of the indicators. Well, I generally don't fast people on water anymore because of the nature of their lymph systems and what I'm facing here. Most of our clients come here with cancer or some serious degenerative condition that we need that chemistry in those fruits. From that, and we've talked about this before in these videos, that down from that's a fruit fast. So if I'm just eating a sad American diet, I don't want to jump into fasting. And that's what one of this question is. You work your way down toward that world or up to that world, and you do that by eliminating everything but fruits and vegetables, and then you eliminate the vegetables, and then you spend a few days on fruit, and then you go into water fasting or whatever. I think mono fruit fasting is as high as you really need to go. That's why we're grape freaks here. We had a famous model do 43 days grapes and lemons combination and no more lung or bone cancer left. And so we have her testimony there. And so these are all observed cases by the medical profession. So pretty cool stuff. Grapes and the Stanley Burroughs Master Cleanser, those are the two popular ones I use here. I love grapes. You always play with that. I used to play with how long can I go. Sometimes I could only go 3 or 5 days. Other times I could go 40. It's just what you're going through emotionally and everything else and how much self-discipline you have there. But when you go on these longer grape fasts or longer mono fruit fasts, you want to break it with adding more fruit for a day or two and then add a salad for a day or two, and then you could go down a little further. You would never want to break it with too much cooked food or anything like that. I remember Bernard McFadden broke it with boiled potatoes, and I think, wasn't that his last fast? I think it killed the guy. But you know what? You want to build up to one and build down to one if it's a long-term fast. If you're already a raw foodist, you're right there almost anyway. Just stop the salads for a couple of days, go all fruit, and then just boom on a long grape fast, and then break it with maybe a bunch of fruit, and then a couple of days later add some vegetables back in there. Goes to show you, though, why vegetable fasting will plateau you and you won't go very far. Vegetable fasting has really never been. Fasting and vegetables are not synonymous, in my opinion. You can see the difference between people that do that kind of things and those that don't. Big difference. You must dig much deeper into the human body on fruit. And astringents and the magnetics and there's all the reasons why is in chemistry and magnetics there. So that's important that you break these fasts a little bit and relax with that. It doesn't matter how often you fast. Everything you do is another step forward. So don't beat yourself up. You just keep going. Have fun with it. Make it a fun thing. Some of you I know are pretty sick. But you just keep it and you keep going with it and you just wear the robe. Wear the robe. Wear it. Ride it. Take it on. Don't fight it. Just enjoy it. Change this and enjoy the ride. And it's a lot of fun there. I really appreciate these. The next thing is about enemas. You know, too many enemas, too many colonics, innervation. Now, I do like this lady, the colon therapist, and yeah, I really appreciate colon therapists. Every ER, and I spent years in emergency rooms, every ER should have a colon therapist. First thing you get's bottoms up. I mean, really is important. But in colon therapy, we can only get to the colon. One lady claims if she drained that water a little slowly, it could open up the ileocecal valve and create some drainage. Remember, that's liquid stool when you're up in that area. However, there is nothing like great colon herbs. Look at our stomach and bowel formulas. They're not laxatives. I mean, so many herb companies put out laxatives, and I'm thinking laxatives, that's what you don't use. It irritates the bowel wall. And you're trying to purge, just like Gerson's coffee enemas. Too stressful on the muscles and the nerves. So what happens is you end up not being able to move when you use coffee enemas. And you don't need to purge and rip the body apart. This is a fluid. The lymph fluid is 3/4 of the interstitial fluids around cells. And that just needs to become cationic. Remember our discussion in cationic is a base or alkaline experience. And it's a rehydration and a thinning of the fluid so it moves better. And so acids create that anionic solidified fluids that dry you up. Some lady had a question about dry eyes. You can imagine she's not moving her lymph system in her head. She could get glaucoma, cataracts. And so I'm going to talk about your case, sweetheart, in a minute about your eyes here. I burnt my eyes in nuclear medicine. I was in nuclear medicine, cardiopulmonary, ER, and so there's a lot of radiation going on there. But you've got to grow. Some of what you learned isn't true, and that's one of them. You look at the mucoid plaque, and I'll tell you one of them. You're probably not going to like me, but Dr. Jensen was my personal friend. And I have his colonoscopy and endoscopy before I started him on our herbs and raw foods. He was not a vitalist. He did not do all raw foods any stretch of the way. I spent a lot of years with him. I could tell you his diet. And so he actually had a black colon, and he wrote the book on colon health and created the Kalima board. That's a nice board. You can use greens. You know, I'd implant with greens, not just wheatgrass. You know, I like alfalfa, again, better than wheatgrass, blah, 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 blah. But you know, you use herbs, and the magic of those herbs will clean, strengthen, restore the bowel. Remember, interstitially, remember, in the wall is where 80% of the problems are, is in the wall. So you can't get in the wall with the water. The water doesn't have any power to it. You need to get some herbs, but you got to get that lymph moving through the kidneys. You got to get in that wall. This is why you'll see more aggressive clays like bentonite and charcoal. I've got one called the GI broom, and it sucks that wall, pulls on that wall. And this is true with those that have orange around your pupil. That's sulfur from the use of antibiotics. That's hard to get out. And I have a medical doctor friend that has it all in him, and when he realized he can't use sulfa drugs, he's full of sulfur, he can't find an antidote to it. Well, the antidote is to detox and pull, and so he's been working on it for a few years now. I think I've mentioned this before. I don't think much of Dr. Jensen's daughter-in-law. No offense, honey, but German iridology is not where it's at. And if you can't get the eyes to change, you're not a good detoxifier. If your eyes do not change when you're detoxifying, then you're not getting in and moving that lymph like you think you are. Because I have nothing but changed eyes here, and Dr. Jensen had nothing but changed eyes, and we talked a great deal about that. He never cared for German iridology, and neither do I. It's okay, but he took it a step further, and we must honor that. But she's not honoring his name. I've heard comments that he didn't have it right and things like this. Let me tell you, Dr. Jensen was good at what he did, but his diet was lousy, and he looked it. And you made a comment, sweetheart, about he cured his prostate cancer with digestive enzymes. He never cured his prostate cancer. I couldn't even get it out of him. He had PSAs of 1,600. Anybody that knows about PSAs, that's your prostate. 0 to 3 was the old. They went to 0 to 4. They should have went to 0 to 2. I've had 40-year-old men in here with PSAs of 2 prostate cancer. I had a guy in yesterday, PSAs of 45. Well, 45, he's in trouble, So real serious stuff. I have a Smucker's jelly guy. I've seen PSAs of 2,900. Incredible. When you have high PSAs, it starts chewing you up all over. So digestive enzymes definitely can make you feel better. In the long run, using them, you'll lose your pancreas. And people tell me, well, once you lose your digestive enzymes, that's it. Not so. I think I've mentioned this on other videos. I've had pancreatic cancer in here so bad that there was no digestive left from that pancreas. And I totally restored the pancreas and digestion without any use of digestive enzymes. I think you have to be real careful with these because the pancreas is an endocrine gland. And I've seen people on digestive enzymes a year later stop them and they can't digest anything anymore. And that's serious problems. So what feels good in the moment can create a longer term problem. I think you're doing a great job and you do what you want with that. But Dr. Jensen's iridology work is yet to be beat. I had a clinic in Lisbon, Portugal for a while, and I took him over there one time with me, and I was amazed at how the Portuguese loved him as opposed to German iridology because it's right there. So I really like Dr. Jensen's work, and instead of Ellen, Ellen, you need to give your love and respect to the guy that handed you his stuff. Okay, that would be real important there. You can't even get his books anymore. You can't get his charts anymore. And I think that's low. That's real low. You can't do that. We turned it down. That's why you have it. But I did turn it down. It was offered to us. But we got our own gig here. And I love iridology. For those of you who learn iridology, it's fun, it's simple, it's easy, and you can really make a big difference. And you can see your genetic lesions sewing up. I've done this for 40 years, and it's amazing. I used iridology to teach people years ago because people didn't come to me. I'd go out and lecture and use the camera and sell eye pictures for business. I had to do that. So keep going, colon therapists, but pick up some herbal, like our bowel formulas, and use those because you're going to find it breaking off the plaque. It's going to remove the inflammation, but it'll get in the small bowel too, and most of your absorption of nutrients is actually in the small bowel. Colon, you get traces and microtrace absorption, but truly the small bowel is the real key here, and it's interstitial is the key too, and how do you reach in there? It's like water. You can drink as much water as you want. I'm in favor of implants of greens and stuff. We have serious cases that have feeding tubes, and sometimes we implant, but not very often. good herbal formulas. That's why I'm in love with them. They will really help restore that bowel, clean that bowel. And remember, the autonomic nervous system controls peristalsis, so you got to get the adrenals up. You got to reach into the lymph system in the wall. So that's where all the Crohn's and IBS and all the polyps come from, and the cancers. You can burn the wall, but ultimately, in the wall out is really the big issue there. So keep going with that. Keep going with iridology, sweetheart. You're doing good there with the colonics and all that. Just a little caution with the digestive enzymes. Seen some real negative things in the future. He had a medical doctor make his digestive enzymes, and he could pour it in some oatmeal, and it become liquid within just less than a minute. Well, he begged me to try him, and I put him off. Finally, I tried him, and I was on the pot for hours. I had severe cramping. I don't go that route. I like normal digestion. I know Richard Schultz thinks your stool should look like liquid peanut butter or something. No, you don't want to push your foods through too fast. You really want normal digestion of your foods. You want normal absorption. But to get absorption, you've got to clean that lymph system. That lymph system interstitially is 75% of those fluids. And when iridology is great to see malabsorption and that interstitial, that bowel ring, which Dr. Jensen called the autonomic nerve ring, that's actually the bowel wall. And when you see a white ring around that bowel wall, around the pupil, that's interstitial lymphatic constipation. That's my new word for the day. I coined that word, and that really describes it all. Interstitial means the fluids around a cell. Lymphatic is the lymph system. Constipation means ain't going nowhere fast. So really important there. So yeah, you can use some, but really use the bowel formulas. You'll do better with them, I'm here to tell you. MS, he's asking about fasting this. You do this until you're done. I don't care if it takes you 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or 5 years. There's no other remedy out there but to regenerate tissue and to remember your cells genetically. There's no other focus. So really tear into it. Keep going, keep going. With the MSs and stuff, you really need all fruit. I mean, I think I told you that case of a young lady, 43-year-old with advanced MS, and they brought her in an ambulance on a stretcher. Now, she couldn't move at all. And so I put her all on fruit. And in 2 months, she could wheel herself, she could feed herself, and she could have activity. Now, I put her on a salad and a green drink just to try to build muscles, and she couldn't move anymore. She went back to not being able to move anymore. The difference when you subtract, and I went this over in another video, the digestive power and energy needed to break down that high cellulose in vegetables. You take that out from its 9,000 angstroms of energy that a vegetable average has. Fruits, though, digest very quick. They're already coming from a position of about 12,000 angstroms of energy. They're going to yield you 9 maybe. So major difference when it comes to the Homo sapien nervous system and brain. We need those fruits for brain and nerve regeneration. End of story. So real important. You won't get anywhere trying to regenerate MS, Lou Gehrig's, Parkinson's with vegetables. That I've never have. And I use a lot of herbs with that. So yeah, and these fasts, you can do 20, I don't care what you have, cancers or MS or anything, you can use that. Be cautious, with nerves conditions because, sometimes you have to jog right or left, you have to power them up with some green drinks, and some of these advanced cases where they're just so thin and you're trying to work them, sometimes you have to shift and just power pack nutrition with greens and stuff, shift back to fruits and fasting. Detoxification, guys, is an art. And the fundamentals are there, but it's an art. See, it's like old, what's his name in gambling. He said you have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And this is sort of what you have to do sometimes with your clients is kind of work them through these pitfalls that can occur because some of these advanced cases are real serious cases and way out of the medical doctor's league, way out. So I appreciate this thing, and I feel sorry this young woman wrote about she lost her adrenals by taking steroids. Same thing with digestive enzyme. You can't take, endocrine glands are funny. You can't take what they make. You can't do it. And then have them, that's why the glandulars are so important to us in that case, because a glandular is nothing but the cells of the gland, which will inspire the gland to function and produce its own cortisol or its own neurotransmitters. That's the beauty of glandulars. I mean, we don't have too many tools out there. Herbs, when you have serious conditions like gland suppression or hypoactivity of glands, real slow. To really turn them on and make you feel better quicker. But it's all the tools we have, you know. But the end result is always curative, and that's really what we look for. And us, the medical doctors and the naturopaths and the homeopaths, we all need to hold hands and work. I think medically, again, you all need to become homeopathists, because homeopathics are great symptom treaters. It's just great stuff. And non-toxic, great stuff. In the same time, you've got to do this to find your remedy, your cure. You can control a symptom, but you've got to go for the cure, and then you're done. If not, the cause will still be in there, breaking you down, and then things just get worse and worse and worse, and it's not good. Someone asked me if I ever seen anybody regrow permanent teeth. I've heard of people growing third sets of teeth, but rare. I mean, really rare. But the fact that one Homo sapien can grow a third set of teeth could mean that we all could. But I'll tell you what, we're so genetically weak. I just don't see that many people being able to do that. And so I don't know. You know, I don't have a lot of people that can stay raw that long. I mean, some for 2 or 3 years, some of the serious cases. I had a lady that had advanced lung cancer. I kept her alive for 15 years, finally died at 86, but I could never get the cancer out of her, and she was raw for about 14 years, but she remodeled her kitchen at 82. When I met her, it was post-chemo, post-radiation. Of course, radiation burns right to the lungs. A lot of times gives you, we get a ton of lung cancer in here from radiation treatments. I mean, it's just a mess. And I kept her alive a long time. But, and every once in a while, I had to give her something like chicken noodle soup or something just to keep her from ratting out. Because all raw in the consciousness of man right now, real hard, guys. You guys are spiritual guys, so really it's helpful to stay raw when you're spiritual. But for those that are not really thinking godly so much, sometimes, no offense, but sometimes a little harder to stay raw for any length of time. And but keep working it. You know, you got to keep working these programs until you're well, and then you balance out where you need to be. I did balance out. I'm glad I did, because it allows me to help you better. It gives me more compassion. If I'm too raw, I'm too strict, then sometimes I lose my clients because they see me as too strict or too whatever. I lose my compassion. So balance is really the middle path, Buddha, the middle path. You're not for or against. You're in the now, and you ride with balance. And I think that's real important here that you do that. Love your questions. I don't mean to insult anybody, so if I do, forgive me. But it's just the things I've experienced in 40 years, and that's what these videos are. So I apologize again if I offend anyone there. This lady has a lot of eye problems that I should speak, but we have some good formulas to help the eyes. There's raw eye tissue, there's bilberry. We've got a lot of good formulas. Ultimately, realize your eyes is nothing but cells and 2 fluids, like everything else. And so you really got to move those lymphs up here. If you've had your tonsils removed, that compromises the whole thing, not stops it. You really got to move on those lymphs, get these kidneys filtering, get these axillary lymph nodes opened up and moving, and everything can start draining, and it'll start draining the head. I have a eye wash. I remember one guy came in here and a hydraulic jack blew up in his face and just shoved hydraulic fluid in his right eye, and they wanted to remove it. And he said, "Is there anything you can do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Try this this eye wash, because it pulls on, it gets blood and lymph moving." So sure enough, this hydraulic fluid just started pouring out of his eye, and his vision started coming back from the peripheral right in. And so that was a good case. use that eye wash. It's a very good eye wash. It helps to clean and promote blood and lymph flow. Internally, though, you can take it internally, but internally go after that lymph system. You can use upper circulation, which is an herb formula that we have that promotes blood flow through the nerve into the eyes. But there's also the brain and nerve formula that'll turn on the nervous system again. So you got all these different things you can do. But you have fun with the herbs. That's the idea of herbal formulas, to have fun with them. And anytime you can fight things like Codex or anything, do. We have to stand up as channels for the Supreme Being and block anyone that will take our freedoms and rights away. And you see that in Libya. You see that everywhere. These guys, doctors, lawyers, out there shooting guns. They want their freedoms. I love those guys. I don't care what their religion is. I love those. These are souls seeking freedom, and that's what we must do, because America has squashed a lot of freedom right now. And thank God we're not in Codex, because if it does, you all need to stand up, because they'll try to stop you from getting these great herbal formulas or even vitamins and minerals, even though I don't use them. But still, you can't take the freedom away from people. Governmental legislators, get your act together. Start thinking godly. Start thinking freedom, joy. Let's put the joy back in people. We've all lost our joy because he's taking your freedoms away. Not good. But anyway, keep taking care of yourselves. I really appreciate that. This lady's on 95 to 100% raw foods. Kick it up, though. Kick it up to the fruit side. The fruit has all the flavonoids and the coumarins and all the Bs and everything good. And it's the goodies, but it has the astringents, which helps to pull on that lymph system. So it's just good stuff, So have fun with this, and I hope I didn't miss anybody this morning, but I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you viewing these videos. Sometimes I'm a little hard, guys, on the allopathic community, but if you sat behind my desk and hear story after story from thousands and thousands of people, you start to cry. You start to want to see things better. It's just we all need to work together and make this a really healthy planet. We all get our joy back, and it's a joy to live, and it's a joy to be on the rock. But maybe that's the whole point, is if you get too joyous on the rock, you want to stay here. And there's a lot of worlds out there that are so much more beautiful. I tell you, I've been an out-of-body traveler for years, and the worlds of God is massive, and there's so much beauty beyond this planet. But why not make where you're at now with the human body beautiful, I don't know. The consciousness is interesting here. But thanks again. Have fun today now. And I'll keep doing these videos. Keep with the questions. I do appreciate them very much. And if I miss one of you, please ask the question again and we'll get to it. Thank you. Bye-bye.